Good day and welcome to this special edition of our program today as we mark International Youth Day 2025. Now, this year's global theme is From Cliques to Progress, Youth Digital Pathways for Sustainable Development. In the Nigerian context, we've taken it a step further with our customized focus, which is on empowering the future, energizing sustainable pathways for youth innovation in energy, oil, and gas. Today, we shine the spotlight on how young Nigerians can harness digital skills, innovation, and creativity to transform one of our nation's most critical sectors, and in doing so, drive sustainability, inclusivity, and economic growth. Joining me today is a representative from one of the remarkable women whose leadership and expertise span industry, academia, and policy. A representative from the Women in Energy, Oil and Gas. We have Dr. Ngozi Chinwe Ole, the National Chairperson of the Academia and STEM Committee at the Women in Energy, Oil and Gas, WEOG, and also an Associate Professor of Law and Dean of Law at Christopher University, Nigeria. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's very lovely to have you. Happy International Youth Day.
Thank you. And happy International Youth Day to you.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about this year's theme. This year's theme is all about from cliques to progress, and we've adapted it to focus, on empowering youth innovation in energy, oil, and gas. From your perspectives in industry, academia, and regulation, how do you see young Nigerians shaping the future of this sector?
I would say that we have a lot of gaps because even from the team, we could see emphasis on the cradle, that's the foundation. And so foundationally speaking, Nigeria as a country, there is a lot of gap between where we should be if we really want to incorporate the youth in the future in the energy sector and also incorporate them in a manner that is sustainable. And I think the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what is the sustainable pathway? I think that's the first thing. When you look at the concept of sustainability, you are talking about, first of all, development matched with a balance in environmental imperatives, as well as a development that also matches with intergenerational equity. That is a development that does not compromise the future, where the youth and the children are incorporated. And if you look at the energy industry generally, you realize that there is a gap. It is tilted towards having people at certain age and also certain gender. And so you have the adults, that is not the youth this time around. People in their 40s and above dominating the sector. And you have a total exclusion of the youth. And even the youth are not also interested in participating in the energy sector because they do not understand why they should be interested in the sector, generally speaking. So we have to look at it from the cradle. What do we do to address the foundational issues? And that is basically what this year's theme is all about. Galvanizing local actions to address the gaps and achieve a sustainable pathway for the youth in the energy sector and in every sector as well.
And when you say sustainable pathway, can you shed more light on this sustainable pathways?
When you talk about sustainability generally, you are talking of low carbon, and even in the energy industry, production of energy from fossil fuel in a manner that does not compromise or jeopardize the environment. And he's also talking about inclusivity of the youth in that particular pathway. That is the sustainable pathway for the youth. And from another aspect, he's talking about a progression plan. When you have an organization, are we really thinking of the youth? Now we talk about ESG, environment, social governance. And everybody, all the organization, they will tell you we have our ESG plan, but do we have a youth progression plan? That is the question that we really need to think about as we are celebrating the International Youth Day. And you realize that most organizations do not have a succession plan. Now I want to bring it down to, I'm a lawyer. I head the Energy and Natural Resources team of Alliance Law Firm. It's a tier 1 law firm in Ikoyi. And we have what we call a sustainability progression plan, where if you are involved in a transaction, you have to start from the cradle. So you include an associate, a senior associate, and then a partner, so that everybody is involved. It's not just people at certain level doing it. That is the sort of progression plan I'm talking about. So that tomorrow when the partner leaves, or maybe the senior associate leave, there is an associate who is aware of where this transaction started, and everybody is involved. So as we celebrate today, you know, we must begin to think about the sustainability pathway. Do we have a progression plan? And even in our educational system, are we really being intentional about having an industry that involves the youth? What is our career plan like? What is our recruitment plan like? Are we intentional about inculcating the youth at a level that will be sustainable, at a level that will not jeopardize intergenerational equity?
All right, let's also talk about what specific digital and technical skills that young people need today to actually innovate in the energy, oil, and gas industry, and how these, you know, these skills, how they could be more accessible, especially to women and underrepresented groups in the community.
I mean, with respect to technology, there is no limit to it. You know, I'm not really, I am tech savvy, but I'm not a technology person. But then the reality is everybody has to be tech savvy in today's world. And at the lower level, I would say that we need to have like computer IT education at every level, at least to the extent that will enable everybody globalize, because that is what it is all about. Everyone should be able to know how to maximize social media skills, for instance, because if you are even thinking of recruitment and progression in the oil industry, definitely you have to be out there. I, the recruiter, am not in your mind to know what you are capable of. It's what you put out there that would enable people come up to you and say, hey, you fit into our skills. And even when we just put out an advert there, you must be able to match certain skills, digitally speaking, to really fit into the rules. Everybody will be like on the minimal. You should know how to use Microsoft applications.
Right.
That is even minimally speaking. And people will take it forward to begin to ask you, how are you going to boost your appearance or boost the image of the company tech-wise? So every youth at a younger, maybe even from the secondary primary, people should be taught how to begin to fit into these rules, how to begin to meet up the technical expectations. So IT skills, related course should be encouraged from the cradle, at the university level, at the secondary level, and even during vacation, that is not typically a school thing as well. There should be what we call extracurriculum activities that is revolving around getting technical skills needed for the future and the present that we are all, you know, eager to live in and also aspiring to get to.
Something you said really stuck out to me, and I think it even goes beyond, you know, energy, oil, and gas. Like, just for everyone, you speak about, you know, how well how visible you are, and how you are even going to boost, you know, the company by your image, you know, boost the visibility of the company just by your image. And I see so many young people these days who are actually doing well. You know, I have like a couple of, you know, young mentees that they're still in university, but how they've been able to make use of their social media platforms to start being thought leaders. And I find it really impressive, because they would most likely not have to look for these jobs, because these jobs will already find them, because I can clearly see what they are about. But let's talk a little bit about bridging the gaps in education, because I know that you are also your hands are strong. I mean, you're Dr. Ngozi, you know, in the educational sector, academia. Let's talk about how universities and research institutions can better prepare students for real-world challenges in the energy sector, and ensuring that they're actually ready, you know, and they're job ready, they're innovation ready upon graduation.
I will have to start by saying that we have to start with the foundation, because if the foundation is shaky, the Bible says it, what will the righteous do? If we don't begin, even from the nursery, primary level, to begin to teach people that these things, they concern You know, when you talk about energy, a typical person will be like, what are you talking about? What's my business? But energy is everything. You know, in this room, I could count how many devices you are using. And all of them, you know, energy is involved. And because it affects us, that's why everybody must have some level of knowledge.
It's part of our daily life.
Yes, about how it functions. So it should also be taught at the nursery, primary, secondary, and then tertiary level. And it should be brought home to people. Brought home by bringing, maybe having stimulants. Maybe you have career talks, and that's what we are trying to do in Women in Energy, Oil and Gas. We actually have like student chapters, and we are trying to expand from the university student chapters to the secondary, maybe down to even having career shows, events at the primary level, where students will begin to think about, oh, you know, there is energy and is also part of what I should do. Because when you go for, let's say, children's career day, rarely will you see anybody that will say, maybe I'm a petroleum engineer. Or this is always, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor. They go for the obvious. But you know, when you begin to create this awareness at that level, people will now begin to think about it. And then they will fit into the role in the future. That's number one. Number two, there should be encouragement from the industry. I can't emphasize this enough. Encouragement can come in form of competitions, you know, competitions. And the competition shouldn't just be purely academic. It should also be made youth-friendly. There are some competitions that could be beauty-related, but then it is bringing people to think in terms of energy and energy carrying. And I think recruiters should also be very intentional. The gap is just too much. I mean, when you look at it for women in particular, or even female youths, it's worse. In the energy industry, it's purely male-dominated. At the leadership level, you have about 18% being only female. And it's not because we don't have female population. So it brings us to the question, what is really happening? So companies need to really be interested in being intentional about recruiting youth, about recruiting female youth especially. And how can they do it? You can set out a quota. When people are coming to apply, it's not out of place. If everybody is qualified already and you are calling them for an interview to tilt the scale of balance a little bit in the favor of those who are underrepresented, as long as they have the requisite skills. So recruiters have to be intentional, and we should have stimulants as well. And then, like I also said, there should be, the curriculum should be revamped or reinvigorated to incorporate, you know, all such activities that will stimulate interest in, you know, such careers that would enhance sustainable pathways for youth in the energy industry.
I think you've kind of answered the next question I was going to ask you, because I was going to ask you about the role of companies and regulatory bodies. I think you can talk to the aspect of regulatory bodies, their role in the role that they play in actually creating platforms and mentorship programs and funding opportunities itself for youth-led sustainable energy projects.
For the regulators, they have a lot to do. My boss, Ms. Uche Obival, SAN, in the law firm where I am, Alliance Law Firm, is a firm advocate of what he calls energy justice. I think he should be one of the foremost proponents in Nigeria of energy justice. You know, we think energy, but we don't also look at it from the justice point of view. Is it really fair to everybody in terms of inclusivity and sharing the ills and the burdens alike, and participation in governance? If you look at the Petroleum Industrial Act, we are lacking in that area. There is really nothing said about including those who are underrepresented. There is nothing said so much about being inclusive in it. We have a lot of educational related packages, but are they really inclusive? That's the question we need to really address. Are we really being intentional about including the youth, and especially the females? You discover that you don't have anything as such, any such provisions. And the regulator would really need to sit down and do that, because if you don't, you can't really address energy poverty, because all hands must be on deck if you want to address energy poverty. Otherwise, the youth you neglect will jeopardize your efforts. They will go, some of the youth vandalize energy infrastructures, and you'll be out crying foul. They don't even understand what they are doing. But the minute you begin to talk about educating them, providing it in laws and policies, being intentional about releasing funds and making sure that the funds are getting to the right people at the right time, you discover that the gap will really be bridged on time. As opposed to you are pouring in effort, some people are jeopardizing it, some are indifferent because they do not really understand. And the people we are talking about are the youths in particular.
Just before I let you go, and as I let you go, if I was to today, you had a free check, blank check, and you could implement one national initiative right now to energize youth innovation in oil and gas and renewable energy sectors, while ensuring that they're sustainable and inclusive, what will it be and why?
Well, I think what I would do is to mandate a certain percentage in what's it called, recruitment quota for the underrepresented, especially the youths, the young girls, and the women. I would implement it and maybe give bonuses to companies that are enforcing it, while kind of finding an economic way to chastise companies that are not enforcing it. And the reason why I would do like that is because if I do that, then the educational initiatives will follow. If people feel that if you educate the girl child, if you pull youths, it's going to be beneficial to them, companies, then you see that people will be coming up with educational programs that will fit into the needs. So that would be the one thing I would want to do, even at the policy level or at the regulatory level.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ngozi Chinwe Ole, the National Chairperson of the Academia and STEM Committee at the Women in Oil and Gas, also an Associate Professor of Law and Dean of Law at Christopher University, Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Much.
And once again, happy International Youth Day.
Yes, thank you. Happy International Youth Day to you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. My name is Elizabeth Musa. You've been watching the International Youth Day special today on Business Day Television. Keep watching BDTV.